shed. You sit quiet and listen. If you hear one broken voice, treat them with antibiotics. If you don't hear any broken voice, you are lucky. You need not have to treat. By 14th day, by the end of 2 weeks, the chicks start jumping over the chick guard, which is about 12 to 14 inches. So there is no point in having a chick guard. Spread the litter to the entire room and leave them for the whole building. Chick guards can be removed on 14th day. Litter material can be paddy husk, groundnut husk, wood shaving. One drawback with wood shaving is it may have some sharp objects which may injure the pad of the chicks. So be careful when you are using wood shavings. In places where none of these things are available, even sand is used as a litter material. But what should be the quality of the litter material? It should absorb the moisture quickly. And when the climate is congenial, leave out that moisture. That means the moisture should get evaporated and the material should be soft and compatible as manure material. Height of the litter material should not exceed 3 inches, I told you. The reason being, when once you rear the birds, due to the addition of droppings, the litter thickness goes on increasing. If it crosses 6 inches, it becomes really difficult to turn the litter. Every day you have to pass your leg in the litter so that it becomes tilted. The bottom layer of the litter should come up and get dried up. It becomes difficult if it crosses 6 inches. So let it not be more than 3 inches when you lay it in the first instance. The litter moisture should not be less than 25% nor more than 30%. If it is less than 25%, it becomes dusty. If it is more than 30%, it helps microbial growth. Diseases problem will be there. How to identify whether the litter moisture is between 25 and 30%? Take a handful of litter, squeeze it in your hand. If it forms one ball in your hand, and when you open up your hand, it should break it into 6 or 8 pieces. Then it is between 25 and 30%. If it falls out as powder, it is less than 25%. If it remains as one ball, it is more than 30%. This is mostly about grower management. Care should be taken to maintain the ideal temperature. In the initial stages, in the first 8 days, when you cover the litter with old newspaper, see that the paper is not torn anywhere. Otherwise, the chicks will scratch litter from the torn part and they will eat the litter and die. That should be avoided. Feeder and waterers should be always available for the chicks. See that they are at a congenial height. That means approximately at the height of the back. Otherwise, if the water is if you keep it at a lower level, it gets filled up with litter material and water becomes soiled. All these cares will have to be taken in the brooding period. Coming to the next stage, that is grower management, there are 3 important factors, or you can also add one more, the 4th factor also there. Number 1 is sex separation. Identifying male and female chicks is not an easy thing in case of birds. But a trained person can identify looking at the sex papilla, whether it is a male or female. But there may be some mistakes. Permissible mistake level is 2%. So if you purchase 1,000 chicks, there may be 20 wrongly sexed chicks there. That means you would have purchased 1,000 female chicks, out of them 20 may be male. As soon as you can identify the males, separate them and send them for table purpose. Never allow those males to grow along with the female chicks, along with the pullets. Neither the males grow well, nor allow the pullets to grow normally. They disturb the growth process of the pullets. And never use them for breeding purpose, because if you use them for breeding purpose, next generation sexing error would be 50%. So send them for table purpose as soon as you can identify the sex. The second aspect is light management. There are different methods of light management for growers, but from the farmer's point of view, the common thumb rule is no light during night. In case of chick stage, even after removal of the brooder after 3 weeks, you may provide overhead light in case of broiler types where you want the growth to be faster. But in case of growers, no light during night. If you provide light during night, the birds mature early, they start laying eggs early. But the internal organ growth would not have taken place normally, then the egg size would be very small, 20 to 25 gram eggs. There will not be any market, and the total egg mass that the bird produces would be considerably less. So even though the number would be more, the egg mass gets reduced. So we do not want the birds to mature earlier than their internal organ growth. From the point of view of the present day genetic makeup, by 19th week, if they start laying, it is ideal. Some birds start laying by the commencement of 19th week. Some start by the end of the 19th week. But by 19th week, if they start laying eggs, it is congenial. So no light during night. But the most important, the factor which either make or break a layer farm is restricted feeding. What I want is a bird which produces maximum without eating anything. As it is not possible, I compromise a bit. I want a bird which produces maximum eating minimum. When does the eating becomes minimum? When the body size is small, their eating becomes minimum. I am prepared to provide for the production of eggs, but I am reluctant to provide for the body maintenance. So I want a very compact bird, but remember, I want the internal organ growth to be normal so that the egg size is not affected. I want a normal sized egg. The internal organ growth should take place, but the total body mass, total growth of the bird is very compact. For that, what they tried in the beginning was miss a day program. That means weekly 1 day starving. Say Sunday is holiday for feeding. I don't provide feed on Sundays. Bird says, don't worry, I will manage it. Monday to Saturday, they eat more and compensate it. Neither the body growth gets reduced, nor the feed consumption gets reduced. So missed out day program was a failure. Next, they tried qualitative restriction. That is, say uh, you may know, especially people who are suffering from hyperglycemia, that is diabetes. Doctor advises you, when you feel hungry, you eat some fibrous material like cucumber or some such thing, which provides you a feeling of filled belly, but do not provide any energy. Like that, qualitatively, you provide a feed which is rich in fiber, but poor in energy or protein. But as you are keeping the birds 24 hours within a shed, they succumb to deficiency diseases. That's why qualitative restriction also failed. Then came into practice the quantitative restriction. The common practice is to provide 75% of the ad libitum feeding. That means, just as an example, think that if birds are eating 100 grams of feed, provide them 75 grams. But it is not a hard and fast rule that only 75 grams have to be provided. Any breeder who has supplied you the birds would have given you a guideline that what should be the normal body weight of the birds at different ages, at 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24 weeks, like that. You test your birds, weigh some sample birds, compare it with the recommendation of the breeder. If your birds are heavy, make severe restriction. Instead of 75 grams, provide them only 70, 65 grams. If your birds are lighter, provide them higher feed. That means 80 grams, 85 grams feed. Like that, you will have to adjust. But the common understanding is about 75% feed will be necessary. This much feed is very essential for the growth of the internal organ. I told you, unless the internal organs, the oviduct grows normally, you will not be getting normal sized eggs. Then you will not have any market for your eggs. And the total egg mass will be less. So, you want the oviduct should grow normally, but the body size will have to be less. This becomes very important factor in this sense. Say each bird eats about 2 grams of feed extra in the layer stage. Say you have a small farm of 10,000 birds. 10,000 into 2, 20,000 grams, that is 20 kgs a day. 20 kgs into 365 days into approximately 30 rupees a kg will be the extra expenditure you will be incurring. Then where can you expect a profit from your poultry farm? If they eat 3 or 4 grams extra, you will be incurring loss. 1 or 2 grams, they will be eating away your profit. So it becomes very important to correctly follow this restricted feeding. Any poultry farmer who wants to make money or have a success in poultry enterprise will have to take care about restricted feeding properly. Coming to the fourth aspect, the floor management. In the brooder house, the usual floor space requirement per bird is about 1 to 1.25 square foot per bird. Whereas when you come to grower stage, it would be 1.5 to 1.75 square foot per bird. Unless you provide the necessary floor space. If it leads to overcrowding, it leads to stress. Stress reduces the immune response of the birds and the birds will succumb to diseases. And if you provide a higher floor space, wastage of energy. They will be simply running from one corner to another. Whatever feed they have consumed will get utilized in that energy spent in that running process rather than their growth. So they eat more. Your expenditure on the maintenance of the birds will increase. So floor space management also becomes important. Coming to the layer management, the floor space requirement is from 2 to 3 feet. 2 square foot in case of layer type of birds, leghorn type of birds, which are about 1 to 1.2 kgs in body weight. It would be higher, say if you are rearing Girraja birds, maybe 3 to 3.5 square foot per bird is necessary. Depending upon the type of the birds, whether it is a layer type bird, meat type bird, or dual type bird, you will have to see that the floor space requirement is correctly practiced. Change of feed from grower to layer feed. Any change you will have to practice gradually. You can't say when the birds reach 5% production, we consider them as layers. The management practices should change from grower management to layer management on the day you get 5% production. But do not change the feed suddenly like that. They have to get accustomed to the new feed. So change it gradually. That means say 75% grower mash, 25% layer mash for some 4 or 5 days. Then make it 50-50, make it 25-75. Like that, gradually you have to change. The reason being, say the birds are coming for production. The nutrients requirement are different for layers in comparison to growers. Unless you provide the nutrients, the production gets affected. Say for example, one common example I will be giving you. Say calcium. Calcium is only 0.9% in case of growers, whereas it is 3% in case of layers. If you continue to provide grower mash, but increase the lighting from 12 hours, that is natural light, to 16.5 hours, you are stimulating the bird for higher production. When they start laying eggs, their calcium requirement will be more for the shell formation. From where should they get the shell? Where should they get the calcium? They get it from bone. The bones will become weak. The birds start limping. And the other way, if you provide nutrients and do not change the light, you are wasting the nutrients. You are providing the nutrients but not stimulation for egg production. You are wasting the nutrients. That's why the change will have to be always gradual and it should synchronize with light management also. Light, as I told you, natural daylight, let us say, will be there for about 12 hours. You may have to provide it for 16 hours, 16.5 an hour. That means another 4.5 an hour artificial light has to be provided. Do not provide 4.5 an hour artificial light suddenly. Say on the day you get 5% production, you call them as layers, start giving light for 16.5 an hour. No, the entire oviduct comes out and you will lose the bird. So it has to be approximately 20 minutes to half an hour every once in 3 days. That means weekly twice, go on increasing it by 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Like that, gradually you will have to increase the light to 16.5 hours. And another thing, providing 4.5 hour artificial light to the birds in the night is very easy, because say the sunset will be there at about 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Switch on the light. Usually we don't go to bed before 10:30. 10:30, switch off the light and go to bed. No, that should not be the practice. 50% will have to be provided in the morning, 50% will have to be in the evening. That means 2 to 2 hours, 15 minutes in the morning. That means if the sun rises at 6 o'clock, at 3:45, you have to switch on the light. When it becomes bright outside, switch it off. When it becomes dull outside, switch on the light. And at 8:15, switch it off. Like this, the light has to be distributed on both sides of the day. Then coming to the intensity, the light has to be provided, the intensity that has to be provided is 1 foot candle. Don't worry about the definition and all those things. 1 foot candle light is provided at the bird level if you use 40-watt bulbs at a height of 7 feet. Bulbs have to be fixed at about 7 feet in the poultry shed. That is, an average Indian would be 5'6". That's the average Indian height. He may be carrying some basket or bag or on his head, maybe add 1 more feet. That means 6.5 feet. Let him not go and dash against the bulb and break it. So fix the bulbs at 7 feet. A 40-watt bulb at 7 feet with reflector provides 1 foot candle at bird level. The first row should be at a, from side, it has to be at a distance of 5 feet. Second row, 10 feet. Third row, another 10 feet, and it will be 5 feet from the other side wall. That means 3 rows of bulbs, and bulb to bulb distance is 10 feet. I can't go into the detail of this light intensity and all these things in this class, because it becomes very scientific for you people. Fixing 40-watt bulb with reflector at 7 feet. And remember, I have intentionally used the term fix the bulb at 7 feet. Do not hang a bulb. You must fix it with a tube. If you simply hang it with wire, hanging bulbs will swing due to wind. Swinging bulbs will cause moving shadows. Moving shadows will frighten the birds, which will affect the production. So bulbs will have to be fixed at 7 feet. Coming to the color, red color bulb is the best suited. If red is not available, incandescent bulb is okay, but not fluorescent tube. Fluorescent tubes will not stimulate egg production, as higher percentage of light in fluorescent tube is bluish, red, yellow, orange are the colors which enter into the optic nerve and stimulate egg production. So it has to be preferably incandescent bulbs or red colored bulbs. If you are using a, if you are rearing birds for breeding purpose, then only cocks will have to be introduced there, or you will have to go in for artificial insemination. If you are going in for artificial insemination, weekly twice artificial insemination has to be done. Or you can have male at the rate of 1:10 to 12 in case of leghorns, 1:6 to 8 in case of heavy breeds. Nest boxes are necessary in a layer house so that the birds can have some privacy to go into a confined area and lay the eggs. It's a box of 1 by 1 by 1, kept at approximately about 1 feet above the ground, where the birds can enter in and lay the eggs. At least 75% of the eggs are laid inside the box, and it becomes easy for collection of eggs also. Feeding, preferably twice a day at proper intervals. Feeder should never be filled to the brim. You know the nature of the birds, they scratch the feed and waste it. I told you, if each bird say eats about 2 grams of feed extra, what would be the expenditure? If each bird wastes another 2 grams from the feeder, you know how much money you are losing. So any feeder should be filled maximum to a level of 2/3, so that even when if the birds scratch, the feed will not get wasted. Water should be available always, and water should be always at the level of the back of the bird. The height at which the water should be at the back of the bird, so that birds can drink water comfortably. Clean, fresh water should be available all the 24 hours. Coming to the backyard poultry farming, for a country like India, where yet 60% of the population depend upon are living in villages and depend upon agricultural activities, this backyard farming becomes important. Birds are reared in the backyard. Birds, there are different varieties developed for this backyard farming. There are about 17 varieties recognized by Government of India which are meant for backyard farming, which can scavenge and survive. They are multicolored so that they can camouflage and survive against natural predators. White bird will not survive in the backyard as they are easily spotted by the predators like hawk, kite, or any such thing. Whether it is commercial poultry farming, rural poultry farming, or backyard poultry farming, first 3 weeks brooding is essential. Providing that warmth in the first 3 weeks is essential. It has to be practiced. After that, they can be let loose in the open field in rural poultry farming. In rural poultry farming, birds eat a lot of tender plants, but birds cannot digest these plants or greens as they do not have an enzyme for digesting it, cellulase enzyme to digest cellulose like cow, sheep, or goat. But white ants, termites, are very rich in cellulase so that they can even digest dry wood. When the birds, when the rural poultry get termites or insects like that, they get enriched with cellulase. They can eat tender plants, digest and grow normally. The care that you have to take is see that you do not spoil your vegetable garden. Otherwise, they will eat away your vegetable garden, fruit gardens, and all those things. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was a very nice lecture. I think Dr. Sonali, you can stop the screen sharing. Dr. with you, sir. Hello. He can help sir to stop the screen sharing so that we can work on. Now it is all right. So thank you, participants. It was a really wonderful session. Young age of Professor Prathap Kumar sir, and who really, really stimulates us to go ahead with lots of energy. Sir, really thank you so much for the kind of energy you show. And, you are really an organization. I had a dream of recording your lectures, and that is now completed because Facebook, we are recording it live, and it will be there forever to see everybody. It is our Facebook page, CPDO&TI Bangalore. So now the time is approaching 12. We will reassemble back again at 12:15. 12:15, we have Professor B.S.V. Reddy coming and joining for the salient features of poultry nutrition. I think we will break here. People who can have natural calls, stretching your legs and relax and come back again. Sharp 12:15. Okay? Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
हेलो हाँ वो ये डाल देता हूँ जी हाँ जी जी ये सब लेक्चर्स अपना अपना खुद बना के फिर अपना से करने से हमारा प्रॉब्लम इसको भी अरेंज करना सरकार से इसको भी वो हाँ प्रोग्राम का वो चल
प्रोग्राम कॉन्सेप्ट कैसे है ओके ओके सो आपने स्क्रीन शेयरिंग कर दिया बस ओके अच्छा ये नीचे था अभी ऊपर चला गया क्या ये एक्चुअली नीचे था ना
ये स्क्रीन शेयरिंग
ओके ओके ठीक है
बोलिए।
Bashir ji sir को setup किया?
सर सेटअप करता हूँ. I'll go there.
No problem. So that sir can view me. Sir, Reddy sir, namaskara sir. ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? The participants we are just setting up. We will start at 12:15. Don't. Basha ji?
Sir, shall we start screen sharing?
You just try it, and so that Reddy sir, namaste sir.
Namaste, namaste.
Sir, you can remove the mask, sir. No problem. Feel comfortable. We are in trial only. Don't worry, sir. We had to start the real presentation.
Actual.
We are just doing a trial, sir. Don't worry.
Right, you know, coffee
Everything, sir. See the technology, sir. You are sitting in
great, really great, really great.
We are in my room, and then we can interact so clearly.
Yes, you are
So
correct.
that is the beauty of technology, sir. We are connected now.
Everything. Yeah, coffee only.
Basha ji is just opening your presentation, sir. We will start exactly at 12:15, sir.
12:50. Okay, right. Another 5 minutes.
No problem, sir. And you can go on up to 1:30, sir. Not a problem. So background of participants are from different categories, sir. They are almost all across India. There are entrepreneurs, there are bankers, there are doctors from many universities. I'll show you after the program. You can get the list of the participants who are with us. Basha is launching the program.
Correct.
Now we are in a trial mode, sir. See, we can just be there with sir only. Show the slide movements.
Stop changing.
So that the full face is visible. So let the participants know about you, sir. Then we will start just 12:15, sir. Exactly sharp 12:15. We will start. Now 79 participants are online, but about 125 are there, sir. They will join. It is muted, sir. From your side, it is muted. Basha ji can help to unmute this thing. Basha ji?
Sir, tell me, sir.
Unmute. Abhi baat kariye, sir. You can speak, sir. We can speak each other. It's a comfort.
Yes. I am speaking, and you are also speaking. I am listening.
Right, sir. Right. This is the technology innovation, sir.
Highly innovative.
Yes, sir.
And
you all three can come together, sir. We will call you as Trimurtis. All three can come in the camera. First, just for a record. Dr. Krishnan, and then Professor Prathap Kumar. Please come besides B.S.V. Reddy, sir. No, just sit down, sir. Sit down, sir. Sit down.
They have to sit down, but how they can't? Their faces cannot be seen.
They are also to sit. Take a chair and sit, sir. Just for our record purpose.
Please help, sir.
But maintain social distance.
Oh. No, no. They're also coming, huh? No, this we have to shift time.
I think somebody's mobile, the Zoom is on. That's why the sounds are coming.
Madam.
It is difficult, sir. Leave it, sir. No problem. I think you're not visible, sir. Sorry for that. It's okay, sir. No problem. Only sir is visible.
How about others?
No, sir. Because of the camera is small, no, sir. Now Krishna sir is visible.
I'm shifting the set, right? You are now. Now I will show another friend.
Good, sir. Good, sir. So these are the three pillars of our institution. Dear participants and colleagues, always their help. So real faculty of our institute who will be always helping in their young age. So they are very young and then energetic for us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Now I think formally I'll introduce you so that we will start at 12:15.
Thank you.
I think thank you, Dr. Krishnan, Dr. Professor Prathap Kumar. Dear participants, we are approaching 12:15 now. So let me introduce Dr. B.S.V. Reddy. B.S.V. Reddy, sir, you can remove the mask, sir. Be comfortable, sir. No problem.
Tea has come.
Yeah, you can have the tea, sir. No problem. You can have the tea. That is not a problem. Online, you can have the tea. That is not an issue. You can have it. Another 2-3 minutes. Comfortable. बासु जी आप इधर ही स्टार्ट करके जाइए.
He's coming. ಇದು ಕಾಯಿಸಿ ತಣ್ಣಗಾಗಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಗೋವಿಂದಪ್ಪ ರಿಟೈರ್ಡ್ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಇದಾರ? ಗೋವಿಂದ ರಿಟೈರ್ಡ್ ಗೋವಿಂದು ರಿಟೈರ್ಡ್.
So it is going live, sir. Whatever you are talking, it is going live in Facebook also, sir.
Okay, then I shall complete this.
Yeah, no problem, sir. You can ask all others to move except Basha ji. Rest all the faculty can come to my cabin.
You heard him.
Shall we start, sir?
Yes, doctor.
Thank you very much. Welcome back again, all the participants. It's heartening to introduce my guru, my mentor, and one of my philosopher. Always, sir is like a family member to me, Professor Venkat Reddy. Sir is from a good place called Bagepalli, where I worked quite a good time. And sir is a nutritional expert, farmer, dean, and head of the department of nutrition. And sir has contributed so much in the field of nutrition. Sir has been, wanted across the poultry sector in India. Sir has been, very good teacher. People who have taken sir's sessions or courses still remember. And I really admire sir for photo finish memory. Sir even remembers our ID numbers. Sir even remembers our names with the ID numbers. So that is the level of memory sir has. Really, thank you so much, sir. Heartening to see in my institute this way. Very welcome to you, sir. All over to you, sir, for the session on salient features of poultry nutrition. Sir. All over to Reddy, sir. You can start, sir.
Thank you, Director, sir. Yeah, dear friends, very good afternoon. It is my privilege to be here because one of our students is heading this institute in the best possible manner. He has made several changes. He has brought in several changes into this institutional working order. I congratulate the institute primarily And of course, I had been participating in certain guest lectures for field veterinarians, then the entrepreneurs and the farming community also. And today's topic given to me is the principles of poultry nutrition. Of course, poultry is one of the facets of our livestock, and our livestock industry is contributing a great quantum of GDP to the nation. Hope as the prospective entrepreneurs, you would be trying to understand the topic that I am going to deal with, since the topic which I am going to deal with is the feeding and the nutrition. And obviously, this is the biggest component of the total enterprise of poultry. Excuse me. There is some problem. Right only. It's not coming. Or is it possible here? Sorry for the interruption. Yes. Now, this is the Entrepreneurship in Poultry Awareness Week, EPAW. I am Reddy. Had studied in Veterinary College, Bangalore, and worked there only and retired there only. Now, the topic, as I said, it is the principles of poultry nutrition. And most of the veterinarians who may be online, they understand what is the definition of nutrition. That is the science that integrates the knowledge of both biochemistry and physiology into one unifying concept of relationship between organism and its food supply. Organism could be anything, starting from the microorganism to the biggest organism, that is the elephant. Now, there are several materials within the food that we eat or the animals eat, which are being defined as, are termed as nutrients. Nutrient is a feed constituent or a group of feed constituents of the same general composition that aids in the support of life. And this support stems from, for the purposes of maintenance, growth, production, and reproduction. Now, before talking about the actual aspects of nutrition, let us see the data or the profile of our industry for the last 6 decades, how it was in 1960s and how it is right now in 20s. And as you know that poultry, whenever we talk, although there are several species of poultry, but by and large, it is the egg type chicken, that's the commercial layers, and the broiler chicken, that is the meat type chicken, which are relevant to the nourishment of the human population on one hand, and to the economic sector of the country as a second aspect. Now, the egg type chicken, which used to be there 60 years ago, was of very, very low efficiency. There are, left side, if you see the parameters, they are self-explanatory. That is hen-house egg production. What it was 220 per hen, now it has gone up to 330. So much improvement in the productivity. Then the age at the sexual maturity was 20 to 21 weeks. Now it has been reduced drastically by 4 to 5 weeks. That is 16th week itself, the birds start producing the egg, the first egg in the flock. Body weight at sexual maturity used to be 1,500 grams. Now it is reduced for the obvious reason that if you have the lesser body weight, definitely more the number of eggs that you are going to get. So 1,200 grams only. Feed up to sexual maturity used to be 8 to 10 kilo. Now it is maximum 6 kg or less than 6 kg. Then during the egg production period, which spans of about 58 weeks, from 16 to 72 weeks, that's the usual period of any flock that is to be maintained in a farm. It used to be 51 kg, now it is 41 kilo. Then by calculations, the feed required to produce dozen eggs, the birds eat 2.55 kg, but it used to be, now it is 1.49, a great savings of feed intake. And in terms of the egg mass being put out, used to be 3.54 kg feed, now it is 2.21. Only one aspect of little negative nature is the livability. The birds used to survive in a better manner previously, since the diseases were of less numbers and intensity was also less. But of late, due to high production efficiency, the diseases also are taking a big stroll. So now the liability ranges from anywhere between 80 to 95, depending upon the type of disease that may be prevalent in the farm. Now, next sector is the broiler chicken. As I said, it's the meat type chicken, which at least as students, we never had any chance of getting broiler meat in late 60s when we were students of veterinary college. At that time, it was only the spent layers that was the source of chicken in our menu. Now in 60s, age at marketing was 60 weeks. Now it is just 35 days. By 35 days, the next line is the body weight at disposal, which used to be 1,200 grams. Now 2,000 grams is obtained by 35 days. Feed till disposal was 4.2 kg, 3.2 right now. Then feed conversion ratio in terms of quantum of feed consumed per gain of 1 kg body weight used to be 3.5. Now almost it is halved, less than halved, 1.6 kg. Livability, yes, was 97% used to be, now it is 95%. Performance index score is another facet of expression of the efficiency of broiler chicken, where the feed efficiency may not be a true representative because similar body weights and similar feed consumption, it is difficult to distinguish the merits of the flocks. Therefore, an extension of the FCR is termed as performance index score, where one considers 4 parameters. That is the body weight, the livability, the feed conversion ratio by itself, and the number of days taken in to go out of the farm. And there is a common factor 10. So this performance index score used to be very low, 55. Now it has been almost 7 to 8 times, 340. A great improvement in the efficiency of the broilers. And all this is possible by involving the genetic improvement, and thereby the modern strains of poultry have come into existence. And with this constant effort of improving the genotype of the bird, there is always a constant parallel approach by the feeding sector, where it has to be a perfect nutritional match. That is a core issue for the poultry industry. So when the nutritional match is the important aspect, then comes the feed term. Feed is a great component of the inputs of the poultry enterprise, which accounts anywhere between 60 to 70% of the cost of the total production of the poultry. It might vary from one other situation to another situation. If that is the case, let us try to understand. Once we know the great importance of the food sector or feed sector, it becomes imperative for us to know what are the details of this food matter. So again, even a scavenging bird will not be getting a single feed ingredient. It will be scavenging, it will be going out from one place to another place, maybe backyard, from even the open area. It will be searching for all its desired inputs. It could be a grass, it could be a grain, it could be a small pebble or whatever it is. It will consume by its preference. However, that kind of a scavenging feeding system has been understood thoroughly, but in a different manner that has been modified in the modern scientific feeding system. Thereby, we are not using one ingredient as a food matter for the animal, for that matter to human beings. All of us have a variety of ingredients in our daily menu. Breakfast could be lunch or dinner. Thus, it should be a combination of several feed ingredients that will make up the bird's daily food. Now, once we know that we need to have such and such kind of feed ingredients, then we have to be very, very strict in selecting the ingredients by adapting the quality control program on one hand, and sequentially and perfectly, we have to manage the preparation of the food by taking the individual ingredient weight and quantifying it. After that, we have to grind it. Then it has to be mixed. The good old method of hand mixing or shovel mixing used to be there in small farms. But today, even a moderate farmer has got a feed factory premises within his farm, and thereby his efficiency of the feed mixing and feed dispersal, ingredients dispersal within the given feed would be thorough. And after pulverizing and mixing the feed ingredients to a compounded feed that could be dispatched and delivered to the birds directly as a mash form, or it could be converted into pellets. And if they have to be stored for some time, they can be weighed and bagged, and it can be transported to different locations. Now, feed, as you know, that it could be in the mash form or pellet form. A pellet form feed is always a beneficial feature for certain obvious reasons, because in the mash form, there is a very possibility that the birds may selectively consume only the grain portion, leaving behind the powdery form. Or else, if the same mash form is being converted to pellets, the whole pellet represents the most balanced type of feed. And also, the intake of all nutrients will be in totality. Then, cooking the mash form into pellets, converting into pellets, will almost eliminate the harmful bacteria, harmful microorganisms. It's a great advantage for the birds to have a good gut health environment. So much so, pelletization is of great use. Then, yes, the pellet form, pelletization may, or feeding of pellets may encourage little tendency to the pecking order. Means the birds try to peck each other, because all the time they try to peck, ingest the feed ingredients or the feed in the pellets as lump sum. So it develops a kind of pecking order. So that is only disadvantage. And of course, the costing may vary between 50 paisa to 1 rupee per every kilo conversion of the mash form into pellet. Notwithstanding that cost, yet the beneficial features of pellets will be good enough. so that it can offset all the input cost. Yes, what are the usual ingredients that may require grinding and pulverizing? You see here, it's the cereal grains, not only cereal grains, even the oil containing grains like soybean or groundnuts, sunflower. On one hand, the cereal grains like maize, jowar, and wheat. These are the grains that need to be ground thoroughly, not to the powder form. As you know, that powder form is not palatable to the birds as such. Mostly grain forms are the best preferred ones. So instead of shovel mixing, which may not be uniform and proper, the simple most feed plant that where you can see here on one side, the grinding of the raw materials will take place. They are being conveyed to the bin above grinder, bin above mixer. Once the raw materials are being ground here, they are being elevated and being stored temporarily in this bin above mixer. And in this mixer, the churning of the feed material or the ground materials, including the medicines that are to be put in a separate opening, and the mixing takes place for about 6 to 7 minutes. And during that time, another batch can be made ready. So a great efficiency of the preparation of feed can be seen in this kind of plants. And more than anything else, it is the most proper way of mixing the ingredients, where uniform mixing and availability of each and every micronutrient, including it will be available in any quantum of feed that is being taken by the bird. And mammoth feed plants are also there, which now they are being managed by the integrators. Or same integrators are big feed manufacturing companies. They have this kind of facility, and that facility will definitely produce lots of tons of feed, compounded feed. Since our industry, including the dairy industry, are enhancing, they are getting day by day increase in their numbers and in their production levels. So there is a great need for compounded feeds all through, year by year. 5 to 10% growth of any industry of livestock, that is poultry or dairy, definitely invites the establishment of this kind of mammoth feed plants. Now, once the feed is being prepared, to whatever extent possible, it can be in the mash form. Many local farmers, where they can't afford to have the pelletization plant, they can be they can rest themselves with the mash form, no problem, not much problem. Then, or it can be converted to crumbles or the pellets. And thus, the conversion of mash form into pellets or heat application is always a beneficial feature. I forgot to tell that in addition to the pathogenic microorganisms removal by heat application, then there is a kind of micro digestion, in the sense the raw materials once subjected to cooking, there will be some kind of denaturation, including the gelatinization of starch on one hand and denaturation of protein. These are the two major inputs of or ingredients of the total food. So once they are being reduced to a kind of a status of easy digestibility, then the heat applied definitely becomes a beneficial feature. Yes, the food all said and done. We should also try to know what are the things that are present in the food. We human beings, we have tendency to drink water separately, and likewise even the animals have got separate entity to drink water. However, in the food that the animals consume, there is certain amount of water, and this amount of water varies from 10 to 70 to 80%. If it is a green powder, it is 70 to 80% water. And if it is dried ingredients like grains or extruded cakes or extractions, they carry anywhere between 10 to 12% water. So nothing is devoid of water. Any feed that we provide to the birds or animals is containing some amount of water. So to classify the ingredients or the constituents of the food that the birds eat, it is the water and dry matter. Water may be 10%, dry matter may be 90%. Then this dry matter is what? It is the organic mass as well as inorganic mass. Inorganic mass represents the minerals, which could be major minerals or trace minerals. Major not from the point of function, but from the point of quantum by and large. And trace minerals, yes, quantum wise they are very, very minor, but effectively they are very important from the functional point of view. So calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride, sulfur, they constitute the major minerals. Then trace minerals, iron, iodine, copper, cobalt, manganese, zinc, selenium, and several other minerals, trace minerals also coming into force as the time passes. They are considered as essential, like nickel. Then the organic mass is a major portion. Yes, I forgot to tell. Organic matter may be out of 90 grams here, dry matter. Say it is 100 grams food if you take, 10 grams water, 90 grams is dry matter. Organic mass may be around 85 to 85 around, let us see. And inorganic matter may be 5 grams. Then this 85 grams of organic mass is mostly carbonaceous, maybe around 60% or 65%, and 20 to 25% will be nitrogenous depending upon the type of the bird that we are feeding. And out of this 20%, let us say one round figure, 20% of the nitrogenous, it is not nitrogen. Nitrogen is a part and parcel of the total protein. So it could be in the protein form, the nitrogen. The nitrogen could be in the non-protein form, like NPN compounds, nitrates, ammonium compounds. Whereas from the nutritional angle, it is a proteinous portion of nitrogen that is important. That is nothing but the polymers of amino acids, chains of amino acids that they are being found in different structures, primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structures, which ultimately will have different functions. Could be storage proteins, could be functional proteins like enzymes. So the nitrogenous portion will have that kind of action, say constituting to 20 grams of the total food that the birds are consuming. Carbonaceous, yes, I said it is around 60 grams, 60% of the total food is carbonaceous. Carbonaceous means carbon containing compounds. It doesn't mean that the proteins do not have carbon. They do have enough carbon. But these carbonaceous compounds, on the other hand, namely carbohydrates and lipids, will hardly have any quantum of nitrogen. Thus, much of the matter in them is of carbon nature. So they are being divided into carbohydrates and lipids. Out of 60 grams, carbohydrates may be around 55 and fat may be 5. 5 may be little exogenous. Yet in some cases it may be 9% also, like a broiler finisher. But in layers, for that matter, it may be around just 3%. For convenience, let us say it is 5% lipids, carbohydrate is 55. And these lipids, true fat and non-true fat. Sometimes waxes also come into feed along with the ingredients, raw materials. So that kind of non-true fat, false fat, so to say, is of no consequence because such fat is not digestible. All waxes, gums. Then the true fat, which is nothing but the fatty acids, which can be in the free form or in the combination form, like triglycerides and diglycerides and monoglycerides. They are the ones which are of significance for the animals or birds. Then carbohydrates, which is around 55%. Yes. In poultry rations, it may be around 5 to 6% out of 55 grams is structural carbohydrates, which we call it as crude fiber, more fiber. Most of the times, even human beings, patients are referred by the doctor to have good amount of crude fiber so that it will have good motility of the intestines or peristalsis so that constipation will be removed or reduced. But by and large, it is the non-structural carbohydrates, that is the carbohydrate portion, which is of great energy yield significance. Sugars and starch, they constitute almost 50% of the total food that the birds are eating day in, day out. Unfortunately or fortunately, this 50 grams is by and large being almost either burnt to the extent of 95% in the body, or else it can be stored in the form of certain reserve energy sources like glycogen, either in the muscle or liver, and thereby it can induce the sporadic release of glucose as and when it is required. For example, starvation, or when the birds do not get feed at the appropriate time. Yes, water, as said, it is only 10% of the total food the bird is eating, dry food, but there is no access of any greens to the birds. But if greens like legumes are given to the birds, it is well and good. Apart from sourcing the dry matter, protein and other things, it will provide good amount of water also, natural water being present within the plant itself. Then the importance of water, all of us know that it is a medium to keep our body in the cushion form. All the organs are being embedded in the almost liquid status because it is the medium through which the nutrients are being dispersed from one place to another place. And it is the medium through which the biochemical reactions take place. Many biochemical reactions take place, requiring or eliminating the quantum of water molecule from the reactants. And thus, basically, at molecular level, the importance of water is well known. Thus, if you ask me, which is the most important nutrient, I would rather say it is the water. But many a time it is being neglected. Since water is cheaply available and it is being allowed for drinking, so there ends the matter. Our job is over. We think that water sourcing is over and we don't consider its importance anymore. It is the feed that we always look into. Have you fed? We ask the farm workers, have you fed the birds at the right time? Thus, most of the times, our emphasis goes to the feed, ignoring the importance of water. Not really ignoring, but they take water is taken for granted. You must be wondering that withholding water for 2 days may render the birds' mortality to the extent of 60 to 70%. And in summer, it can result on the second day to 90%. But withholding feed for 10 days, nothing will happen because the birds do have the reserves of nutrients, and thus it is, excuse me again. So importance of water is very, very much known, and many times farmers, although it is not so significant in terms of taking care of, they try to, because especially the water supply is always a constant feature from the overhead tank through nipple system or through the automatic drinking system. The availability of water is ensured. but quantum of feed is to be provided, although at least once in a day through either if it is a broilers, once you fill up the feed bins, feed containers, then feeders, then your job is over. The next day morning only it has to be given. Maybe for layers, it is 2 times feeding of the birds. But water is almost constantly available. So it is almost neglected, I would rather say, as being seen on the farms. However, the importance of water is much, much more than any other nutrient put together, all other nutrients put together, because the body of the bird has got abundant reserves which can be used for serving the energy purpose or the basal metabolism or whatever the minimal functions that the bird is carrying out minute to minute. Yes. Once the birds are being given the feed and the water, let us try to see how the feed is being subjected for its digestion. Digestion is nothing but the conversion of the macromolecules into micromolecules for eventual absorption across the gastrointestinal tract or gut. And once they are being absorbed, they reach the liver. From liver, they are being dispersed to various organs and tissues and cells. And thus, the homeostasis of the bird is being maintained every now and then. The first thing that the birds eat through their mouth will travel to the crop, which is the central, temporary storage organ. It's a sac type. And the next component is the proventriculus, which is the true stomach, where acid production is there. And since it is very small in size, nature has given the bird to hold the feed that is being consumed by it temporarily. And then it is being pushed downwards. There's the gizzard, where it is very hard, and there are the production of forces, shear forces. Any hard material is there in the food the bird has taken, it is being subjected to maceration, and thus even the stones are being macerated to the powder level, and later the whole food chyme with the acid so produced in the proventriculus, and even prior to that in the crop also certain organic acids are being produced, and with certain enzymes, the whole food chyme will pass to the next component, the duodenum, and in the duodenum, a lot of secretions take place, are being poured into it from liver and pancreas, which are very, very essential for the further digestion of the food matter. And later, the food matter will travel through the rest of the small intestine, comprising jejunum and ileum, and finally, it will end up reaching the cloaca. Before that, it may stay for some time in the cecum for microbial fermentation, and later, the undigested food matter, along with the excreted urine and urinary components, it is being expelled as feces. Most of the times we see that there is feces, means only undigested food matter. No, the poultry excreta does contain the absorbed and unutilized food matter, nutrients that are coming through urine, and along with the undigested food material is being expelled as total excreta. Incidentally, that cloacal region also has got another orifice or the opening, that is the coprodium, where the egg is also being expelled out. Now, digestion. It is a process by which the macromolecules are reduced to the micromolecules for effective absorption. And how it can be done? It's a continuous process which is going on in the gut, either by the physical forces such as chaffing, grinding, and heating, or autoclaving, which could be in the pre-ingestion. And The next force that comes into existence is the real chemical forces, which are essentially the enzymatic actions specific to the substrates, which are the substrates are reduced from macro status to micro status. Example, starch is reduced to the level of glucose. That glucose is being absorbed. Proteins are being reduced to amino acids, then they are being absorbed. Similarly, fats are being reduced to fatty acids, but incidentally, these fatty acids again regroup themselves and they're being absorbed in the form of chylomicron or micelle, and they form the chylomicron and then get absorbed. All these end products of the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, they travel to the liver primarily, and from there they are being dispensed with to various tissues through general blood circulation. Now, to get the proteins, fats, carbohydrates, minerals, and vitamins, it is not one component, as I said earlier, it is not one ingredient that can provide all the required and desired nutrients by the bird. We have to make a combination, right combination of various inputs, that is the raw materials, and to have a verifiable status of all nutrients in the most balanced way for the bird. So we try to look into the raw materials that we need for compounding the feed. One is the energy supplements, the protein supplements, the mineral supplements, and feed additives, which are the broad classified inputs in the feed that we provide to the bird. The energy supplements are the energy yielding ones, where they are, most of the times they are being almost utilized or burnt, what we call chemical combustion. The carbohydrate rich ingredients like cereals and cereal byproducts are there to a great extent. And also at times, as per requirement, we do employ the inclusion of lipids like oils and fats. They are also very rich in energy. Because of their richness in energy, they have another important facet of the utilization of energy, because these lipids have got low heat increment, where during the process of digestion, absorption, retention, and excretion, all these lipids rendering energy, no doubt, but they result in very low quantum of unnecessary heat being produced. On a comparison, the glucose, for that matter, uses more heat increment, which is a wasteful energy. Maybe next couple of slides afterwards, we will come to know about it. Then protein supplements are the ones which are which are being sourced from plant origin as well as animal origin. Then the plant origin, you know that most of the times we talk about cakes and cake extractions. For example, groundnut seeds are there. We take out the oil for human oil industry purpose. Then the residue is the flakes, which is nothing but groundnut cake, which is very desirably used in the cattle feeding system. But the same cake is being subjected further. For example, if groundnut nuts have got 26% oil, it is being extracted to the level of residual level of oil to the 8%. And then again, we are not leaving that 8% in the cake. If it is used for the cattle feed industry, well and good. Otherwise, we subjected it for further oil extraction by solvent extraction, and thereby rendering the groundnut seeds to have only just less than 1% oil. And those extractions, by default, they get accumulated in terms of rest of the nutrients, notably the cake. If protein, if cakes have got 40%, 42% protein, after removal of oil, the same cake will lose the quantum of oil, and on percent basis, it becomes consolidated with the protein. And thus, the extractions carry more amount of protein. There's a great demand for these extractions because they contain more protein. Animal origin protein sources are generally fish, meat meal, meat and bone meal, silkworm pupa meal. They try to provide good amount of animal protein, because as you know that on a comparative basis, animal proteins have got better biological value compared to plants, because animals would have taken the plant origin inputs. It is carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and sulfur. Those elements are being converted into the body mass proteins by the animal. So animals definitely carry a protein in their muscles, which is akin or similar to that of a human protein, body protein. So any kind of a protein that is very similar to human body protein or bird body protein naturally will have a better biological value. Biological value is nothing but the term which represents the quantum of protein that is being digested, absorbed, and retained, and not excreted from the body. So egg protein, milk protein, they have got a better biological value because they are almost similar to the proteins of human body, and thus if such kind of similar proteins are available in the food mass, they are easily digestible in the same fashion. However, plant origin protein sources, definitely they are of a different amino acid profile, and once the amino acid profiles are different, then the digestion, basically the absorption and retention will also vary. It will be of lower magnitude. So animal proteins are most preferred. Then by combining the energy supplements and then protein supplements, the cakes and then the cereal grains is not the end of the day, where the required feed will not be suitable in a balanced way, since they are not all the time good sources of minerals and vitamins. Therefore, we need to keep a separate sector of inputs, that is the mineral supplements, calcite, dicalcium phosphate, meat and bone meal, or bone meal as the source of calcium and phosphorus, basically, and some other minerals and vitamins and antibiotics, and then amino acids, deficit amino acids in the feed. Whatever combination you make with the energy and protein supplements may not end up with the proper ratio of amino acids. We try to make up them by further supplementation. And many times, certain diseases are common in the field due to, for example, coccidiosis. It's a bloody diarrhea. So we need to include anticoccidials in the feed. So collectively, they are being grouped as feed additives. So this is the 4 sector-wise feed that we can be expressed: energy supplements, protein supplements, mineral supplements, and feed additives. Yes, all said and done, those 4 sectors are being considered. They are made available in the proximity of your area. Once you want to feed or make a combination of them, what is the criterion that you have to adopt? Basically, including human beings, the birds or animals, they require the feed to meet their energy need. Every animal has a certain quantum of energy requirement, day in, day out, 24-hour period. Parallel to that, it is not all the other elements have to be considered collectively, simultaneously, but at least if protein is being considered along with the energy, most of the things are being done. So consider the quantum of energy the bird requires, consider the quantum of protein that the same bird requires, and based upon their quantums to be taken in through a definite quantum of feed, you have to formulate a diet on a percent basis or ton basis, and thus energy and protein become the primary components of feed formulation. However, it is not to ignore the other points for effective feed formulation. basically it is not the same feed that has to be given for meat type birds and egg type birds or ducks or pigeons or quails. No, it is the type of the bird that we need to know, basically, the first point. If you are a broiler farmer, your formulation, your feeding system is different compared to a layer farmer. Then the age of the bird, even within the broilers, for example, meat type bird, you have a different ration up to 10 days and 22 days different ration, 22 to 30 days different, 30 to 40 days our disposal time is different. Likewise, the layers also up to 6 weeks is one, 6 to 14 weeks is one, 14 to 16 weeks is one, then 16 weeks up to peak production is one. Many people are following this, and 25 weeks up to 50 weeks one, 50 to 60 weeks one, 60 to 72 weeks one. Like that, the age of the bird is equally important. Then each age group of the bird, specific type of bird, has got a set of nutrient requirements. It is not that all birds are required the same quantum of nutrient. Therefore, nutrient requirements are differently defined for different age group of birds. Then once you know these things, these three things, yes, you search for the ingredients that are easily available in the neighborhood or accessible from anywhere to your farm. And once you get them, try to understand, if not analyze, all the ingredients, all the batches of maize, soya. No, it may not be possible. Up and down, you have to get them analyzed for the specific nutrients. But it becomes prerogative to know the chemical composition of each ingredient that you have employed for the prospective formulation, compounding. And once you know their chemical composition, it is not the end of it. You understand, try to understand any defective features of the ingredient. For example, soya, you may get whether it is golden yellow or brownish or lumps. You can understand the difference. If it is golden yellow, it's a beautiful soya. If it is lumps, yes, during extrusion or extraction of oil, the heat application was not proper and it has allowed good amount of moisture to stay in and it has become a big lump, which may attract the fungal development. And if it is improperly processing, there are certain natural protease inhibitors in the soya or legumes. They are supposed to be destroyed during processing. There is a heat application, but sometimes the manufacturer may fail to remove all the protease inhibitors, which eventually, if they reside in the feed, the soya meal, soya extractions, it may cause the protein hydrolysis in a limited manner. It will affect the protein nutrition. Like that, the quality of the ingredients screening is very important. Then, what we try to feed in summer is not the same thing to be fed in the winter. Because in winter, due to extreme cold or more cold, there is every possibility that the birds will consume more feed to satisfy their energy needs, which is different, which is opposite in summer, where the birds do not require great amount of heat or energy, because whatever heat that is being produced due to biochemical reactions within the body, it has to be eliminated from the body. That itself is a big stress. So they do not eat more feed. Already more heat is being produced in the body. So why to have some more heat production from the more feed that the birds eat? However, a farmer or as a nutritionist must compromise with all these things and see that it becomes proper for the bird to have good quality feed. Then season also, season bound, whether it is winter or summer, or maybe sometimes all of a sudden there will be clouds and then heavy rain. Then the birds are under great stress of environment. So you have to take care of extra supplementation of anti-stress factors like vitamins and minerals on one hand, and liberal feeding of feed so that the birds do not get deprived of energy input. Then the health. You may formulate a proper ration, but still, if you don't check the gut health or the bird's health, which is mostly affected by the gut condition, as well as various diseases are there, both of viral origin and bacterial origin, which may affect the general system to get affected. But by and large, it is the gut health which is important. Look for the good gut health. So take care of the good gut health, add certain ingredients in the feed so that they maintain good gut health condition. Then the additives, which additives you have to add in the feed to support the two types of raw materials. There's the energy feed supplements and then protein supplements. You have to be very selective and judicious in choosing these additives, not wasting these additives unnecessarily, but for the given specific purpose, if additive is being given, it will be enough. Then after that, proper milling and mixing methods to be adopted. Good amount of time for well mixing. There's about 6 minutes for any batch of feed mixing is required. Then after that, the mash form can be fed, as I said earlier, but if it can be converted to pellets, that's most desired one. Not that everybody is able to offer it. And feeding management. While feeding, ensure that no grain is being wasted. No particles of the feed that you are providing to the birds in the feeders is being wasted. Many times farmers are depending upon the workers, and those workers may not be efficient on one hand, and they may be complacent with the system, and then they casually take it and then try to feed the birds, wasting good amount of feed, which is being judged by looking at the litter or the droppings in the case system, the layers. So formulating a feed for the given type of bird of right age and considering all other parameters, very important. To having selected the feed raw materials, you need not, as I said again, as it is being told, that you need not or you cannot afford to analyze each and every feed ingredient for all the parameters that you are employing for formulating the feed. Therefore, you can refer the standard tables. This is the table, nutrient composition of some of the commonly used ingredients in our country. And these are the values which you can depend upon by and large. And however, if there is a great variation, again, give you an example, soya. In these months, the processing of soya becomes very difficult, and then it may carry more moisture. Then all the nutrients, including protein, may be of lower level because water is more, 14 to 15%. Similarly, maize, instead of 11 to 12% moisture content in this harvesting season, might go up to 14, 15%. Then parallelly, correspondingly, the rest of the edible nutrients become less. So blindly we will be formulating based upon this composition. No, at that juncture, what you have to do, you have to really decide and judge yourself whether this table is relevant or not in terms of the various nutrients. So if moisture is more, try to reconstruct the values of nutrients based upon trimeter basis of 12% moisture level, then automatically things will be taken care of. That's the only issue with this referring of this table for nutrient composition. So whatever formulation that you do and try to feed by the feed technology, either mash form or pellet form, ensure that the birds are going to survive in the best possible manner to give back in a matter, in the terms of response, what you give, it has to respond. How best you take care of. Dr. B.S.V. used to say, take care of the chicken. Chicken will speak to you or talk to you. So how best you take care of them from all angles, not only feed I am talking about, though it is 70% of the cost of production, but rest of the inputs like management, brooding to start with, then all parameters including lighting, all these things are equally important, though they may not carry more quantum of contribution in the total input economy, input cost. Yet finally, all managemental, nutritional, and other factors being considered, we have to ensure that the chicks will be thrifty, they are properly grown. For example, egg type chick, you can see here, the egg type chicks, devil chicks, they are being reared up to the level of 16 weeks. Next photo there, that's the growers. And after that, once they start laying the eggs, they are being transported to the other house where cages are being put in, and into those cages you have to transfer them so that they continuously, it's a machine almost converting the feed into egg, this type of egg type of chicken. Sometimes they reach 98 to 99%. If you have put 10,000 birds, 9,900 eggs you get daily, almost for about 2 to 3 weeks. So it is quite interesting to see this biological machine where it converts the food that it eats into a wonderful protein source to the mankind. The most unadulterated food that we consume. So an egg a day keeps the doctor away. So we have to see that basically how to get a beautiful egg. We have to ensure the proper livelihood of the chicken that we rear them during growing stage, chick stage, growing stage, and finally laying stage. Similarly, broiler chicken, very tenderous broiler meat is so juicy, and then people start enjoying the broilers. This is one of the most fast growing area. Where the devil chicks, as I said, by 35 days, you are getting anywhere between 2,000 grams to 2,200 grams. A great fiat on the part of the birds to grow so fast, highly dynamic in their metabolism. And to get this type of chicks, thrifty chicks, we need to have wonderful parents. There's the hen as well as cock, where the eggs obtained from them, either on deep litter system or in cage system, they have to be very potential in terms of hatchability to produce the chicks. The healthy and thrifty chicks are to be obtained from the same potential hatching eggs. For that, the relevant breeders must be maintained for both egg type chicken as well as meat type chicken. And yes, with the brief introduction of all these principles relating to the production of feed and then how to make the birds healthy and then start producing the product, the meat or eggs, we need to know the nutrients that are being recommended for the chicken, either egg type chicken or broiler chicken. And to start with, this is the nutrient recommendations. Again, to go back to the discussion where we said that formulated diet based upon the type, that is the chicken here we have taken as egg type, and the age group, that's the chick mash or grower mash or pre-layer mash or layer mash. And thus there are with vast experiments and field experience, they have come to know that the chick mash, for example, requires metabolizable energy to the extent of 2,860 kilocalories per kg. So if you maintain this much energy level, the bird is going to eat the desired quantum of feed, and So much so, it will have good profile of growth, both muscular as well as bone tissues. And parallel to energy level, again to said earlier that energy and protein are the premier nutrients to decide the formulation. Parallelly to the level of this 2860 kilocalories of energy in chick mash, the feed must contain 18% protein. And then through that defined quantity of feed intake by the chick at different ages, say maybe second day or fifth day or 10th day or 36th day, through this level, the bird will automatically consume the desired amount of protein, vis-a-vis the amino acids. So this has come into existence, these figures have come into existence by experience, by trial and error method, by the farmers or the scientists, mainly by the scientists or nutritionists. Then they have defined these two levels. Once these two levels are being defined, next is linoleic acid, for example. That is the portion of fat that is important for the total biosystem, because you know that the body is made up of organs, in turn the tissues, in turn the cells, and cells have got cell membranes. Cell membranes are being equipped with the phospholipids, lipoprotein layer membranes, and that is the component that exerts the semi-permeability of the cell membrane. Thereby the cells are always in the intact position, because they can be very selective to choose the things to come in and to choose the things to go out. Thus, linoleic acid as a component of fat plays a dominant role. Anytime this linoleic acid deficiency is there, then notably the liver cells get deranged, and you might see that fatty livers or liver cirrhosis, whatnot, all kinds of disorders might crop in. Then the minerals, the calcium, phosphorus, sodium, chloride are being defined in response, rather in relation to the energy and protein level. Try to remember that if energy varies, the rest of the nutrients automatically vary in accordance. If the energy level comes down, these levels also will come down. If energy level goes up, these rest of the nutrients also need to go up, because more the energy, the intake of food is less. So through that less feed intake, you have to ensure the rest of the nutrients. For that obvious reason, the rest of the nutrients need to be at higher profile or levels. So they, again, as age advances, the birds try to depend on different nutrient profiles, which are again I repeat that they are being judged by the experiences in the field, and they are being defined. They are available in the books, and the company that supplies the chicks, they give this chart, and they will ask you to prepare a feed to match these nutrient levels. So, trace minerals. These are very small quantums that they need to be given. All these are expressed in the parts per millions, or if you take 1 kg feed, the manganese has to be 110 milligrams part per million. Otherwise, it is milligram per kg or microgram per gram. Then zinc, iron, copper, iodine, selenium. These are the levels that we need to maintain in the feed, since the raw materials that are being included in the preparation of the feed do not contain substantial amounts of these trace elements. Overall, we try to add as a mixture of these trace elements. Actually, there is always a product named as trace minerals, which is recommended at the rate of 1 kilo per ton. Thereby, they have formulated that 1 kilo basis depending upon the requirement of these minerals for every group, and thus all these 6 trace minerals are being included. Similarly, fat-soluble vitamins, as said earlier, they are not free eaters of food matter in the environments. They are not the scavenging birds. They are being confined in this house, deep litter or cages. The raw materials will not serve all the requirements of all these fat-soluble vitamins, AD3EK, or the B group of vitamins, B complex. Most of us consume the B complex or fat-soluble vitamins. They are very much required for well-being, and thus the birds also, to produce an egg or to grow properly, the broilers require these vitamins. And most of the times, more than these requirements, defined requirements, we try to add them as little above. That is called as nutrient allowance. Riboflavin 10 grams, 10 milligrams per kg. Yes, that's about minerals and then vitamins. Then as far as amino acids are concerned, which are the constituents of proteins, protein is a very broad general term where it is made up of various amino acids in different umpteen number of combinations, which are being in the macro form, that is the structural forms like primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary. They need to be hydrolyzed or simplified to the level of these amino acids. There are 21 known amino acids which are important for livestock, including poultry. Lysine, methionine are the most important amino acids. Likewise, there are other 8 essential amino acids and 3 more essential amino acids for poultry. Put together 10 essential amino acids are there, which are naturally being present in the feed proteins, but they are not sufficient. And among the insufficiency of those amino acids, primarily it is the methionine and lysine which become the most deficit amino acids. Thereby, as I said, that in the feed additive sector, we try to consider the amino acids also, like lysine and methionine, for the periodical or not periodical. It's a regular affair of adding them in the feed, synthetic ones. Yes. After the maturation, the birds start getting the biological change in them to produce egg. Birds may consume, depending upon season, ambient temperature, and then the status of the bird itself. At the time of maturity, it may be just 1,250 grams, but once they are growing still, then they may require more feed. So change in feed quantum intake is also there. It may vary from 100 to 120 grams depending upon winter or summer or age of the bird. Thereby, at different levels of feed intake, we call it as a plane of nutrition or plane of feed intake. Then the levels of nutrients are also being defined. So it is very easy to follow this and consider the formulation in the with the availability of the ingredients that you have decided upon. Then phase 1, it is up to 40 weeks from 0.5% hen day production to 40th week. And after 40th week, there is a different profile of nutrient levels that also being considered. The company of the chick supply will tell all these things. You need not worry. As entrepreneur right now, you can start experiencing it once you have the head birds on your farm. Trace minerals, fat-soluble vitamins, water-soluble vitamins, digestible amino acids, and finally, in relation to lysine, the amino acid levels in relation to lysine level. If you have more the lysine, you try to have the rest of the amino acids also in more quantum. Less lysine in the feed for obvious reasons. For example, you may not get good amount of soybean meal, and you may end up with more of GNK. Then there is a problem of meeting the amino acids in right proportions. But still, you need to check the rest of the amino acids levels in relation to lysine. Thereby, more of your practical work on protein nutrition is over. once you have this ideal amino acid ratio concept on your formulation, then you may not need to bother about the quantum of protein in the feed, 13%, 14%, 15%. Logically, it is the ratio of these amino acids to lysine are the important ones. Then by phase feeding, once they are matured, they are starting producing egg from nowhere. The bird was not producing any egg till the first egg. Then at the time of first egg, the bird is 1,200 grams, but it will have to increase its body size also, because if it maintains just 1,200 grams during the rest of its life, then the eggs will be small enough, the consumers will reject your eggs. Therefore, naturally, the bird is bred to gain some more weight during the rest of its phase. That is 1,500 to 1,600 grams also. But be sure that more weight is more dangerous. More weight means to produce the same egg, it will be consuming more feed. You are wasting making the bird to waste feed. It is again wastage of money. So maintain the optimum body weight. Try to get the best possible weight of the egg by any other means. Then, so to enhance and sustain the body weight, you have to take care of. Then egg production was 0. Then it reaches 97% by 26th week. A great deal of the work, metabolic work the bird has to do day in, day out, minute in, minute out. Every 24 hours, the bird produces an egg. So it is under high dynamic status of metabolism. Therefore, you have to take care of all its requirements for the sustained or reaching peak production. Then when the bird was small in size, the bird started producing 40 grams. Then the bird is also growing, it will produce more weighted egg, 56 to 60 gram egg. And this also requires a great deal of attention for maintaining the egg size. And feathers were also small, say 4% of the body weight. And once they reach at 26 weeks of age, it will be 7%. So the phase feeding is being visualized and conceptualized that the birds will not suffer at any given point of time to produce and to maintain its performance. Then broilers, recommendations. Broilers, unlike layers, they require densified rations. Densified in the sense that the feeds are being concentrated with the nutrients. The energy was 2,800 in layers, chick starter, not the adult bird. Then the broiler starter, here you see 3,000 odd, and it keeps on increasing by the time it gets sold out in the farm, 3,200 kilocalories per kg. As the birds are increasing in age, these broilers, they require more amount of energy so that they try to deposit more amount of fat in the body, and it keeps the bird fast growing. And protein keeps coming down because at the initial stage, the birds require more protein, but as age advances, the birds require less amount of energy. So the rest of the nutrients are also being defined in relation to energy and protein. Similarly, calcium, phosphorus, and other major minerals. Then the vitamins through trace minerals are that need to be added per ton. They are also being defined, and this is the table depicting the addition or fortification of the ton feed with vitamins in this concentration. And ultimately, we see that to prepare a feed, we need energy supplements, protein supplements, mineral supplements, and feed additives so that it becomes the most appropriate balanced feed the birds will be consuming. And for that, you have to be very selective. And let us try to have a look at all these energy, supplements resources. Energy feed supplements. This is a wonderful crop, maize crop, world over. Apart from serving as the cereal energy source, it is being used for the alcohol production, for as a biofuel. Every year, whatever being produced, nearly 7 to 8% of maize production is being used for ethanol production in US, Brazil, and some other countries. A wonderful crop, one of the easiest crops. Only thing, farmers need to have a minimum supportive price, which had gone to 25 to 26 rupees 2018. Now it is just 12 to 13 rupees a kilo. Maize grain, wonderful energy source through its starch, basically. Sometimes its quality gets deteriorated by the weevil attacking, and sometimes the farmer is not careful enough to have good grain portion. He will allow all this dust and then cob dust are being there along with the grains. They may undergo certain, they get exposed to the fungal growth, then it becomes black, and lot of production, the mycotoxins are there. Then broken wheat is another important source of energy. That's the wheat, not quality of wheat that has to be given as that of human beings, but whatever is rejected for human consumption, it is still a wonderful source of energy for the poultry and even cattle feed. Then basra crop. Basra, in some areas like Haryana, Rajasthan, and even in Southern Peninsula also, they used to grow. Now they don't grow. Basra grain, jowar, white jowar. Ragi, yes, Eleusine coracana, that's the finger millet crop, is also a very hard crop. It's a staple food for many human beings. Sometimes they used to replace maize with the ragi grain, since ragi used to be very, very cheap. Now it has surpassed almost 35 to 40 rupees a kilo because of its requirement and its less production. Then paddy crop, yes, world over, mainly subtropical countries, we have this paddy crop. The byproduct of paddy milling, that's the broken rice polish, and this same rice polish subjected for oil extraction, that's a de-oiled rice bran. And tapioca crop, very good source of energy through its starch. For humans, tapioca granules are being available. The remaining residual tapioca chips can be used for poultry feeding. Then, after the cereal sources or energy, vegetable origin cereal sources of energy, we do have the oils and fats, which are by and large coming from vegetable source only. This is the soy oil, containing almost 8,800 to 9,000 kilocalories of ME, metabolizable energy. Rice bran oil, yes. Rice polish is subjected for oil extraction that can be used as a rich source of energy on one hand, and the residue also can be used as a filler material in case of need to make low density ration, for example, growers or even the layers where they need to have a filler material, the de-oiled rice bran. Then after the energy sources, the protein supplements is the second sector of our feed formulations. They can be from plant origin or animal origin. The cakes, mostly the cakes and extractions of soya, groundnut cake, sunflower, maize gluten, guar meal, cottonseed, full fat soya. Also, they are being considered as plant origin protein supplements. Animal origin, we have fish meal, dry fish, meat meal, meat and bone meal, silkworm meal, and feather meal. This is a wonderful crop. 60 years ago or 65 years ago, this crop was not existent, I believe, in India. Now it is the major crop, major proteinous crop, leguminous crop, central parts of India. And even in our Karnataka, we do produce a lot of this crop. These are the parts, beans. It's a wonderful crop containing oil as well as protein. This is the one which is regularly used in almost all feeds, broiler feeds as well as layer feeds. Sometimes people try to have a good source of energy from this without oil being extracted. That's a full fact. The same beans are subjected for extrusion. There nothing is being removed except the harmful factors are being destroyed, and the residue is called as full fat soya. This full fat soya is useful, particularly in breeders and in fast growing broilers. Then maize gluten cake. From maize grain, we do extract the starch as well as oil for different purposes. The residue sometimes will be very high in protein, 52 to 60, 64% protein. It's also a very good source of protein. Then groundnut oil groundnut extractions. But for the mycotoxin contamination like aflatoxins, this is a very good source of protein. Only apprehension is about its toxicity. Therefore, people seldom use it. Then sunflower ear head, you can see here, the same grains, the seeds, grains are being taken out. Sometimes they do decortication, and sometimes they do not decorticate. Means that is undecorticated grains are being subjected for oil extraction. The residue is the sunflower extractions. Then mustard seed or rapeseed cake after extraction of mustard oil. Guar, mostly in Rajasthan and Haryana, you find this crop. Guar meal is also good source, but not a very good source, so to say, because certain anti-nutritional factors are being present in it. It will render its limitation to about 5 to 6%. Cotton seeds. Most of the times, whenever we talk about cotton seeds, we think of buffaloes and then cows, where we liberally use this cotton seed meal in their rations because it's a good source of nutrients for ruminant animals. But for poultry also, yes, nowadays people are using 5 to 6% the cotton seed cake without any untoward effect. Now, animal source protein, among the protein sources that we employ, is the dry fish. Mostly the fish that are being caught are being dried on the sand dunes in the coastal areas, or even in certain big tanks in the terrestrial area. There, the fish that is being caught is being dried in this fashion on the sand dunes or the soil, putting a sheet. Dry fish. It's a good source of animal protein. As I said, that it is all animal proteins will have a very good protein value in terms of biological value. Only problem here is that this kind of harvested fish, dry fish, harvested and dried fish will have some problem in terms of sand adulteration or sand, sand which is coming along with the fish, coexistent, and salt. To preserve this fish, which is a little more moisturous, they try to put a lot of salt, and then high salt content is another detrimental factor for poultry. It should not exceed. Then some good fish are being detruncated, and the heads are being used to convert them. I mean, the truncated one is being used for canning of fish. Canned fish products are being used in human food, but rest heads are being used to remove oil and then convert into fish meal. But unfortunately, this meal is not, protein is not as good as that of truncated or body muscular protein, because muscle proteins are the real ones which are very similar to our body proteins. Whereas this head or skull proteins are mostly cartilages, collagen, and that collagen is highly fibrous, and that may not be of great relevance. Primarily, its digestibility is a factor, and secondarily, its utility in terms of amino acid balance is there. Therefore, this fish meal, though containing about 45 to 55% or 60% protein, which is not all that good, excepting that if in case this fish meal is derived from the whole fish, yes, then it's good. Meat and bone meal, yes. From the slaughter industry, lot of bones are being available, and the same bones are being accompanied with the residual meat that is not being extracted for human consumption. So collectively, the meat and the bone are being processed, and finally they render it into a fine meat and bone meal in the granular form, a very good source of 4 nutrients, about 45% protein, 10% oil, 6% oil, about 12% calcium, and about 5 to 6% phosphorus. These 4 fundamental nutrients, they are being imbibed in this meat and bone meal, and a lot of demand is there for this. Many people try to send advanced DDs and then reserve it. And it's a very good source so that, 4 parameters can be taken care of. And in all these ingredients, there is bound to be a situation where they carry certain anti-nutritional factors. For example, groundnut cake, sunflower cake, and on the right side, the anti-nutritional factors that are possibly being present in these major raw materials are being given. You can refer this table, and appropriate technology to remove them, appropriate method rather, I would say, not necessarily a technology, method to be adopted to remove the anti-nutritional factors. For example, mechanical, thermal, and chemical processes that can be employed to take out all these anti-nutritional factors. Otherwise, they will be affecting the digestion on one hand, and also they may penetrate into the system itself, and finally they will be causing some problem in the body metabolism. Then we can adopt application of enzymes and inactivate the anti-nutritional factors, or even if the anti-nutritional factors are there in the feed where you could not contain them through enzymatic application, at least put the enzymes into the feed. Thereby, in the gut itself, they will be interacting with them and nullify their ill effect. Then, while considering the ingredient selection, ensure that there are positive interactions between them, no negative interactions. Thereby, you will be more safe for the effective formulation and feeding of birds. And again, as I said earlier, most of any combination that you adopt of mixing of these raw materials, they will result in the deficit of methionine and lysine, by far the most essential amino acids, which are always limiting. So you have to supplement them. And non-starch polysaccharides are there in the feed. Try to minimize its level by deactivation of them. And some interactions are there in the field conditions where, again, I said that for a specific quantum of energy level in the feed, there should be appropriate and corresponding level of protein. For that matter, the rest of the nutrients have to be in cohesion with the energy level. So energy and protein primarily, and energy versus rest of the nutrients secondarily, you have to be looked into. Thereby, the nutrient interrelationship will be proper. Amino acid, for example, little deeper, lysine and arginine. These are the 2 essential amino acids which will have repercussions if they are not in the appropriate level. For every 1 gram of lysine, 1.2 gram of arginine must be there. If not, arginine will take away, or lysine will take away arginine. Thereby, appropriate level is very important. Because this appropriate level can be looked into by selecting the ingredients. If you select more groundnut cake in the feed, then it will contain more arginine and lysine becomes deficit, and you will be thinking that you have provided a good amount of protein, but obviously you are causing a counter effect where more arginine will take away lysine through intermediary metabolism, and it will be the result of lysine deficiency, which will have impact on the protein synthesis and muscular production, and thereby air production. All these things will be affected. Similarly, minerals and vitamins. For example, vitamin E and selenium, they have got a synergistic effect. And vitamin D and calcium, they go together. Vitamin D helps calcium absorption. Likewise, several minerals and vitamins interactions are there. One has to look into up and down. And calcium phosphorus, they go hand in glove. If calcium is 1%, phosphorus has to be 0.5%. If otherwise, they will be interacting at cellular level. It will cause deranged metabolism and impaired growth and performance. And yes, whatever we are talking about feed, be sure that your birds are maintaining good gut condition, gut health condition, because gut is exposed to all kinds of invaders, notably the pathogenic organisms, and again pathogenic bacteria. And these bacteria have got a tendency to settle down in the gut, although they can travel to nook and corner of the body, where we call it as extreme septicemia, where the same bacteria or virus will go into the system and then they cause a lot of damage to the cells and then tissues. So most of the times they are found in the gut, but if you can take care of their presence in the gut, in the sense not take care, remove that kind of pathogenic organisms and instead replace them with the useful bacteria, then gut condition will be good enough for whatever feed that you are giving, the whole intestine particularly, of course stomach also, they will maintain good digestive feature or portfolio.
Sir, one request, sir.
Sir.
We are already almost 150, sir. How much time you require?
Another 5 minutes?
No problem.
I'm coming to the end. Antibiotics are the ones which are being used. Sorry, doctor.
No problem.
Antibiotics are the one which are growth promoters, so to say, which have so many features to enhance the product of the bird, like these things which are being listed, virginomycin, all these antibiotics which are routinely used in the feed as a prophylactic ones to offload the harmful bacteria. And instead of these antibiotics which may have residual effect on the human beings, we are trying to use the alternatives to the antibiotic growth promoters, like these probiotics, prebiotics, organic acids, lumen-tropic factors, and enzymes, which will have almost a similar effect on the gut conditions or health conditions instead of antibiotics. And these are eco-friendly or human-friendly, then there is no problem. And many times the birds are subjected for various stresses. Amongst the stresses is the temperature. Ideal temperature has to be this, and less than that it is a cold environment, and more than 24 degrees is a hot environment. Appropriate measures are being adopted by each and every farmer to take care of this cold as well as hot environments. And finally, thank you, very dear friends, for patiently listening to a few words about these principles of poultry nutrition. Thank you, Doctor. I thank Director Dr. Mahesh and other staff members who have given me this opportunity. Thank you.
It was really, really wonderful. Bashaji, you can help sir to stop the screen sharing.
Yes, sir.
It will be okay. Sir, you gave like a buffet of products for the chicken. So I think, it's like chickens walking into a 5-star hotel and then watching all the options which the chicken has. I think all the participants would appreciate and revisit in the Facebook recordings. So you can definitely ensure that, sir has given such a wonderful knowledge. Sir is like encyclopedia on nutrition. It was like almost like textbook review for all of us. So I would really thank Professor B.S.V. Reddy, who gave us such a wonderful nutshell. I think this recording will go a long way, sir. It is so simple and so elaborate on each and every aspect of nutrition. Really, really thanks and hats off to you, sir, having come all the way and given such a beautiful information, which is so elaborate and so good for the participants and the people who view in the Facebook. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh. Again, thanks. I thank all the participants.
Yes, sir.
And maybe some feedback information also would help me. I am right now, as you know, I am a partner.
Question and answer. It was that they are asking for PPT, sir. We will try to
Yes.
share the PPTs in the future. We can give them in email and other thing.
Yes.
Thank you very much, participants, viewers. You can revisit us in the Facebook. And this is the end of the today's session. Tomorrow we have good 2 sessions for you. Dr. Babu Raj, who will be coming and addressing on diseases, vaccination, and then medication. And then we have Dr. Lipi, who will be addressing on Government of India schemes. So what are the schemes for all of you? What is the scheme Government of India is proposing for poultry? So these are the things which we will be addressing tomorrow. Please do catch up tomorrow, have some good lunch. And I started on the first day that 2 eggs a day and 3 times chicken in a week. Maybe this Navratri week you can skip it, but in the future you can have it daily 2 anda and 3 bar murgi hafte mein. Over to Basha ji. Any other issues you can comment.
I think we can thank you, Professor Reddy sir and Professor Prathap Kumar sir for giving such a nice lecture. Thank you, sir. I think we can end.
Thank you. We will conclude the session here.
Thank you so
very
much. Thank you all staff members of this institute.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.